Well, here we are. It's Wednesday. I'm Jeff Blankenberg, and I am here on my channel, twitch.tv/Jeff Blankenberg. But you might also be watching me on the Alexa channel, where they host me sometimes. And I am here today building an Alexa Star Wars databank. So if you haven't tuned into this before, or you haven't seen what I've been working on, and you just happen to be joining me for the first time, please and thank you, welcome. We are building what is basically meant to be a skill that answers all the questions you might have about Alexa development. So, no, that's totally wrong. It answers all the questions you might have about the Star Wars universe. And so, what I've primarily focused on so far, and we'll do a demo of this here in just a second to show how it works, but it can answer questions about any of the characters or the planets or ships or technology or weapons or whatever, anything that I've really put into my database, which at this point is sizable but certainly not complete. And the last time we were here on Monday, one of the things that we did was started to flip that around and think about how we could build something that was also a bit of a quiz engine. And we're not building a big elaborate quiz game right now. It's just a way for people to have some fun and test their knowledge. And so we now are in a position where someone can say, quiz me, which will just randomly pick an item out of the entire database and present it to the user and see if they know what the skill is talking about. But you can also say, quiz me on characters, so you only want to focus on a specific vertical, which is characters or droids or something like that. And then finally, you could say, quiz me on episode 5, maybe. And so then it picks across all the categories, but picks from things that were only in a specific movie or TV show that you want to quiz yourself on. So all of the data is tagged that way, so it makes it very easy to differentiate and say, oh, I'm only going to pick something for them from episode 5 or episode 7 or The Mandalorian or whatever. So so that's kind of where it's at today. I'm going to give just a quick demo of it here on my Echo, so we'll flip over to this view. It's just similar but slightly different because I have my Echo Show 5 here in front of me. And I'll just run through the skill really quick. So I'll ask it about a character. We'll choose Ahsoka Tano. I think that might be a good one. She was in some of the movies, but she was also a relatively main character in Clone Wars, which is a TV show cartoon. So I'll ask about that, and then we'll say quiz me on episode 5, and we'll see what we get. There is the potential for errors, at least on the quiz me part, because I don't have full data coverage. So it's going to randomly pick a category. So let me start there, just to talk about what this data and everything looks like. So we'll jump over to my browser view here, and if we look at my data, you can see that I have a bunch of different tables in here: creatures and vehicles and weapons and technology. So what happens is it would be able to pick a random category, and then it's going to look for something that has in this appearances column, which all the tables have. It's going to look for all of the records that have the thing that you've talked about. So if you said Clone Wars, I think you can see that there's only one entry in this entire droids table that's currently Clone Wars. Now, when I'm done with the data, yes, absolutely, there will be lots. I'm just not done with my data yet, but I'm building the functionality for it now. So what that means is, when I ask for episode 5, if it picks one of these categories randomly and doesn't have any data, I'll get an error, because I'm not handling for that, because that won't be a situation in the future. Okay, so let's give that a run. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human-Cyborg Relations. What else can I provide information about?
Tell me about Ahsoka.
You asked me about Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka Tano, a Togruta female, was the Padawan learner to Anakin Skywalker and a hero of the Clone Wars. Alongside Anakin, she grew from headstrong student into a mature leader, but her destiny laid along a different path than the Jedi. How may I be of assistance?
Quiz me on episode 5.
I picked a creature. Undefined, who am I thinking of?
Quiz me on episode 5.
We had a slight weapons malfunction,
Alexa, tell me about Luke Skywalker.
You asked me about Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker was a
Alexa,
Tatooine farm boy who.
quiz me on episode 5.
We had a slight weapons malfunction,
Alexa,
but
quiz me on episode 5.
I picked a location. Undefined, who am I thinking of?
All right. So clearly I have some issues we still need to work through.
I didn't find a match for all right, so I have some. But you
Alexa,
can ask about a character.
quit. All right. So we're in a position where some things aren't working exactly as we'd like. Canyon Ski, thank you for joining. That would be a cool skill to answer all of our Alexa Dev questions. I don't know if you know this, but I actually built something like that a couple of years ago. It's called Dev Tips. It's a skill that is still live in the store, but it's probably a little outdated. And based on what I know now about Airtable and dynamic entities and a number of other things, I really need to rebuild that because I think we could really do some cool things that would answer a lot of your dev questions, at least the ones that I can predict. I know you've been here for office hours and things like that, and you've seen some of the kind of off the wall one-off questions that we get sometimes. I certainly wouldn't be able to build a skill to answer those. But if you just want general knowledge or a URL to find a specific thing, it was really pretty good at that. So I'll have to revisit that. But Dev Tips is the skill; it does exist, but the data hasn't really been touched in probably a year. So it's a little outdated and wouldn't know about anything that's been released since then. Okay, so we need to get cracking on some issues. The first thing that I noticed is that I have my quiz intent handler here. This is where it comes in and asks me what's going on, and I said I picked a type, and then it said quiz description. Oh, I know what the issue here was, and this is just because I don't really work on this skill at all, except when I'm on camera here with you guys. And there was something that I added to a couple of the tables, but not all of them. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to insert left, and we're going to call it quiz description. And it helps if I capitalize description. I'm going to take that and copy it. So we'll do that. And I'm going to do that for each of these tables just so that it's there, because this is the issue that I was just having, is that that field didn't exist because I haven't created it in all of them. I created it in character and droid for my testing, but I hadn't done it for all. So I'm just going to come in here real quick and we'll add that table to each, and then I'll add some data to that table because that will also make a difference. And for now, we'll just use our speech description, but I will have to create a quiz description for each one of these entries in my data, because the descriptions I have now use the people's names, and if I want to quiz you on that thing, I can't really say their name. That would kind of give it away. So again, more data work, and you should notice as we go through this skill that more and more the data is really the most important piece of all of this. Building the skill itself isn't that complicated. I mean, there's some tricks and tips and things that we've picked up as we've gone through this construction, but I really feel like filling in this entire set of data completely, right? Because I have a bunch of entries that aren't even filled in, but there's also tons and tons of other data that doesn't even exist yet in this table. And so I've got lots and lots of data entry work to do, but that's not stuff I think you guys want to watch me do on camera. So I tend to lean towards doing the stuff on camera. All right, so I have those fields. Let's try that one more time. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to quiz me on episode 5.
I picked a location. Undefined, who am I thinking of?
Quit. So it's still undefined because I didn't actually move the data over. So that's our next step, is just to put something in there. I'm just going to put my speech descriptions. Canyon Ski, the question is, does Airtable interface with Alexa easier than DynamoDB? I don't want to say it's easier. I think that I have a lot of convenience that I gain from Airtable that I don't get from DynamoDB that is in interface. What I'm doing right here, being able to treat this like a spreadsheet, and certainly as I have other people contribute to this data, I think that Airtable is far superior when it comes to user interface. But as far as integrating with Dynamo, is it easier? I think that we have a lot of things built into the SDK to directly talk to Dynamo and to save data and do things like that. But for the amount of data that I'm working with, and especially because I'm working with a couple of other people to enter this data, um, this is a far superior interface. But it's more the interface than the data structure. And so if you like Dynamo and you're working on this only by yourself, it probably is easier to use Dynamo. But I think that the way that I communicate with, excuse me, I think that the way that I communicate with Airtable is pretty simple. It's a simple HTTP call. I can add some filter statements to it. They make it pretty easy. They also have a really nice SDK that I use for some purposes. And so I wouldn't say that using Airtable is hard, but we do have some built-in mechanisms to allow you to do things in Dynamo. So that's my very safe non-answer. I really enjoy Airtable and the way that it works, and I have a lot of functions and code and supplemental things written for myself that now, for me personally, I find Airtable easier, but only because I've already invested hundreds of hours in making this very easy for myself. So I have one more table here, and then we'll have all of our data as much as we possibly can, because again, there's so much data that's just not filled in or missing, and just missing. Take that, come over here, quiz description. Yeah, I definitely need to put more data in here, but I know that the reason that I'm getting errors is because I just don't have data. So we'll try it one more time and just hope we catch something good. Actually, let me ask it about characters, because then I know I'll have data. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to quiz me on characters.
I am AL3XA.
Alexa,
Human cyborg.
Quiz me on characters.
I picked a technology. Father of Rebel Sabine and husband of Ursa, Ulrich Wren is a proud Mandalorian. When Clan Wren broke from the Empire, he was held captive in retaliation, but was ultimately rescued by his daughter. Ulrich, along with Clan Wren, now stands united with Mandalore under Bo-Katan Kryze. He is also knowledgeable of the arts, both proud and critical of Sabine's work. Who am I thinking of?
Okay, so quit. So you can see that what it did there, and that's another bug that I've introduced in my system. Welcome, Bob Stolzberg.
I didn't find a match
Alexa,
for okay, so you can see.
Quit. I'm assuming the purple heart comes from Bob Stolzberg and Voice XP. Thank you for joining me today. We're just building a little Star Wars stuff. I'm glad you're here. So I found one other little thing that we can look at here, and that is that I'm saying I picked a type. The challenge with this, of course, is that I randomly picked a type up here. And so all I need to do to fix this is say type equals, and in this case, we are talking about a random thing. So actually, I don't want to do it there. But when the user indicates a type, that's when I want to say type equals this, like so. And so let's push that up to lambda. And this time it shouldn't say, hey, I picked a technology and then tell me about a character. It should tell me the thing that I asked for. So we'll upload that lambda right here. We can take a step back and take a look at this new shirt I just had made. I was trying to go for a Green Lantern vibe, and I think it turned out pretty good. Be interested to know what you guys think. I have a guy that makes apparel, and so every once in a while I get an idea, and I'm like, hey, can you make me one of those? And so I have a Green Lantern Alexa shirt. But the reason for this is because in thinking about the Echo Loop and some of the things that I'm doing for my talk in Vegas at reInvent, I was thinking about how cool, like how much it would make me feel like Green Lantern a little bit. Obviously, I'm not going to have things popping out of my ring and stuff like that, but that's a lot of power in a ring, and I thought that was kind of a cool analogy to make. And so I was thinking about wearing this shirt with like a sport coat over it or something, but wearing this shirt while I give my presentation. So we'll see if that all happens, but interested to know in the chat what you think of the shirt. I've also had this hankering to open a store, not to make money, but to work with Alexa and our marketing team and stuff to like make a bunch of cool Alexa Alexa apparel and gear and swag and stuff available if you guys wanted to pick it up. Again, it
I don't
wouldn't.
know that.
I know. It wouldn't be for profit. Like we'd sell these things at cost, but at least it would make it possible for you guys to get some cool stuff if you wanted it. So I'm curious if that's something that's interesting to any of you. But I think that I think I fixed my type issue. I'm not worried about the data issue, so I feel better about this. The thing that I'm really expecting to work on today, reinvent exclusives. I don't know that I'll have any of that. Although Bob, if you find me, I might have something exclusive for you at reInvent. So let's make sure we hang out at some point. But yeah, I think an apparel store would do kind of cool, right? It'd be drop ship. It wouldn't be like Amazon Prime where you're going to get it next day. We'd have to have things made or whatever. But I think it could be pretty awesome. So if you guys like that, please let me know, and I can continue pushing on that. Okay, so we're now at a point, I think, where it says, like, I picked a character. I was going to test this because we just fixed it. I agree. I think the only way to get apparel stuff has been through dev challenges, and I wouldn't mind at all if you want to wear an Alexa t-shirt or like this Green Lantern setup or whatever. Like these don't cost a ton of money. I think people would definitely buy apparel. People like Alexa, and I think it would be kind of cool. At least the developers would, I think. Okay, Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am
Alexa.
AL3XA.
Quiz me on characters.
I picked a character. As a young, shy girl, Beru Whiteson's aspirations did not reach beyond Tatooine. She was content to marry Owen Lars and lead the tough life of a moisture farmer.
Alexa,
Beru also
quiz me on episode 5.
I picked a vehicle. When stationed on Hoth, the Rebel Alliance modified T-47 airspeeders to become snowspeeders, fast-flying conveyances
Awesome.
for patrol and defense of their hidden base.
Alexa,
It took some doing.
quiz me.
I picked a vehicle. Both Bail Organa and his adopted daughter Leia used this Alderaan cruiser on public missions for the Galactic Senate and
Awesome.
secret ones for the Rebel
Alexa.
Alliance.
Quit. Since I've got Canyon Ski and Voice XP, I'm assuming that's Bob behind the Voice XP handle, but he does have a team. I would be interested to know, do you guys think for a quiz that it's a good idea or a bad idea to show a picture of the person, even though I don't give them any name? So, like, if I'm quizzing you and the quiz is about Boba Fett, is it fair to show a picture of Boba Fett, or does that kind of give it away? Should you only have to listen to the description, which I guess you would have to do if you don't have a screen? I'm always torn on that, because I feel like it's an additional clue or hint or help or something. So maybe it's something you can ask for, like, hey, give me a hint if they have a screen or whatever. I feel like, give me the hint to see the picture. Yeah. The problem is I don't really have hints for people that only use voice. I mean, I guess I kind of do. I could read the description, and then I could also say, oh, they're affiliated with the Jedi Order, or you've seen them in this location, or they're this species. That works for people, but for things like technology, I don't have a lot of that. All I can do is say, like, oh, it was in episode 8. I don't understand why Twitch is not allowing you to talk. Let's allow you to talk. That's on the wrong thing. Allow. Can we just allow, please? There we go. Oh, that's a good idea. An APL button that reveals. So, like, by default, they don't see a picture, but if they push the button, then I reveal a picture that would be kind of a hint. I like that idea. So I'm not gonna do it today, because that's more APL than I want to bite off. But at least today, more APL. But I'll add myself a to-do. Show an APL button that will reveal the image as a hint on devices with screens. Okay. So that's good for now. But what I really want to do is be able to check and say whether or not they actually got that thing right. And so the first thing that I need to do is save to my session the thing that I asked my user. So I never remember how to do this, but thankfully I do it all the time. And it's just a matter of going and finding my own code. So I'm going to go into TKO Trivia where I do this, and we're just going to look for the word session because I do this all the time. And this is the line that I need. So I'm going to grab this, and just at the beginning of this handler here, thank you, Bob. I do like team effort, and I think the buttons are a great idea. You guys are all killing it today. So I have a new thing that I'm calling session attributes, and it references the session attributes object in our attributes manager. The other thing that I need to do, and this is just calling them by name, is that I can set values like this. So I can say session attributes.current state and then just save a value. And that's all I'm really going to need to do here. I just need to remember what the thing was that I asked them about. And so everywhere that I get item, I'm getting an object that is my whole item out of my database. And I feel like I need to also have the type. Do I need the type? I probably need the type because otherwise I won't necessarily know what table it came from. So in here, I'm going to do a session. Well, I guess I can just paste what I copied or totally destroy it. Session attributes, if I could type. Session attributes dot quiz item. Sounds perfect. And then for now, I'm just going to set it to item, but I also need, I'll just do it a separate value, session attributes, because I won't be expecting it as part of the original object. So we'll do quiz type, and this will be type. So now I know what type of the data is, and I know the quiz item itself, and I've saved that data to my session. So there's one thing I'm going to do here just so that my my logs are safe. If I come in here and I comment, where to go this line out? Now we can dig into my logs without me worrying about revealing any secrets or anything. So if we come back to our handler, which is here-ish, we're saving session attributes for quiz item and for quiz type. And then up here, should I just be aggressive and write all the code at once and hope it works? It feels like a good time, right? So in here, we're this is where I gather, like anytime somebody says something, this is where I do all of this. So what I'm going to do instead getting all of that is fine. How do I want to do this? Like right in here, I need to do like this is where we check to see if this was a quiz and congratulate the user for getting it correct or incorrect. I guess correct. Congratulate probably isn't the right word if they get it wrong, but we get the idea. So that's the place that I want to do it because this will be before I've given the answer. And what will be pretty cool about this is that I can keep the same kind of engine that I have. So the way this works now is you say the name of something, like I said, Ahsoka. It comes into this code. It compares what you said with the list of items in my slot. It identifies whether or not you actually got one of the items from my slot. And then then I call out to my database and I get all the information for that specific entity. And then I read you like the voice description. I put it on the screen and the picture and all the other stuff. So here's how I think this will work. And tell me if you hate this. You say, quiz me about a character. And I say, all right, here's something I want to know. And I give you a description of a character without using their name or anything. And then you guess. And you say, Boba Fett. And that will land here. And I will say, if I ask you a question, I'll say, hey, you got that right. That was Boba Fett. Good job. And then I tell you the voice description for Boba Fett that I have stored. Or I could do it the other way, which is, hey, you got that right. Do you want another quiz? Something like that. That feels different. That feels like I almost want to move that stuff out of this function. But if I'm continuing to give you my main description about Boba Fett and I can put the image on the screen and all the, I feel like that's kind of where I want to go. So all I'm really doing here is checking whether or not there was a quiz. If there was, I tell you whether or not you got it right. But then I still give you the normal experience when you say Boba Fett, which is seeing his picture and seeing his description. What do you guys think about that? Is that too much? While I'm waiting for answers and input, I will think about how I'm going to write this code. So yeah, that's probably good. Would you like another question or know more about Boba Fett? Right. Um, then I have to add some utterances that are tell me more about Boba Fett or I want to know more about Boba Fett, but that's fine. I can do that. Would you like another question or no? I'm just going to take your words right here and add this as a comment just so I remember what we're thinking. I like this. This feels right. I try to talk myself into things that are easier, and sometimes they're not right. They're just easier. Okay. I want to test that my session stuff is working right first. So my session stuff gets saved somewhere down here. Yeah, session attributes, quiz item, and quiz type. Let's just make sure that's coming through. So I'm gonna bump this to Lambda, and we're gonna give this a run, and we'll see how it works, and then and then we'll go from there. Canyon ski, I totally agree. One of the things that I was thinking about doing, in addition to like a scorekeeping thing, which may or may not happen, is the ability to keep track of what you know. And so if you get the Boba Fett question right, I should mark that for you so that I never ask you about Boba Fett again. Because right now it's kind of random. But it would be kind of cool to say, hey, you've mastered all the characters. Or you've gotten, at least 50 of the characters in Star Wars or whatever, right? Because this is going to be hundreds of items across the board. So I don't know about score. Score is interesting, but not as interesting to me as like mastery. And also preventing me from quizzing you on things you already know, right? So I think that would be pretty cool, and it wouldn't be that hard to build, right? If we look at my data table, we could build that data table pretty easily. So the thing that I don't have in here right now, I would need a user table. So we'll create an empty table called user, and in this table, this will be my record ID, which is like the primary key of Airtable. And so in here we have a formula, and this will be record ID, like so. So you can see it already created 3 records for me, and so I already have 3 record IDs. This will be user ID, and this will be the Alexa user ID. So this will be single line text, just like that, because that's really the only thing that I need to know about you is what your user ID is. And I really don't even need attachments or anything. There's not a lot of other data that I can get from you easily that I actually need. I just need to know what your user ID is. And maybe we'll do like a date created just because it's fun. So I can do created time, 12-hour, no. Use the same time zone for everyone. Include a time field, yes. So this should have 3 date created times. Perfect. And then I'm gonna blow all those records away because they don't really exist. So there's some user management stuff that I have to worry about or work through, but I'll get to there eventually. But I just want to show like how I think about this data. So I have a user table that has the unique ID from Airtable. I have their user ID, which is the unique identifier I get from Alexa, and then I can match them all the time. And then how do I want to do this? Because I have data from all of these different tables. What I really want to do is just say like user data or something like that, and then I want to have the unique identifier for the row, because every one of these items, if I dig into one of these, they all out here at the right, they all have a record ID. But then I also need to know what table it came from. That's going to get messy. Well, I'm not building that part today, so I may have to come back to that. Well, we got some stuff here, so I want to make sure I pay attention to what you guys are saying, because that's the most fun part of this process. Hi, Jeff. I've discovered these sessions. I got a bit of catching up with previous videos. Meanwhile, I'm getting loads of tips from your code. Awesome, TNS Limited. Thank you. But I noticed you write your own HTTP GET method based on importing Node HTTPS library. This seems to save about 25K over using a library like Axios. I'm all for saving bytes, but then you're also using Dashbot, which adds a huge 139 meg of dependencies. Does Dashbot really give 139 meg more value than the standard Alexa logging or writing simple write even to table helper? I've been using your excellent slot value helper since SDK v1. I see there's a new get slot value method in SDK 2.7. Is this safe to switch to? Anything that's in the SDK you should feel comfortable switching to. I tend to use my own because the last time that I looked at it, and it has been a little while, the last time I looked at their functions, and let's crack yours open, I felt like they weren't very safe. Get slot value. So this comes in here, it checks that an intent request, and it's just I'm passing in my request envelope and the slot name. And it has a function called getSlot that's looking for slot name, and then it's saying if slot return something, then return slot value. So let's see where that function is. Where is getSlot? On line 158. Yeah, see, this is the stuff that I get hung up on, is that if for some reason no slot value came through, then this function's going to break. It doesn't feel safe to me. And I think this is why I have an issue with that function and why I do it another way. Because my function makes sure that it will never fail. I might get an undefined when I shouldn't, which is fine, but I will never get a situation where my code breaks. And I feel like this is digging in and we're trying to grab a value that may not exist at all. So I don't want to talk this down, and I really need to work on the SDK and issue some pull requests for this kind of stuff, because there's the possibility there's no slots, which means there would be no slot element, and this line right here would break, because if slots don't exist, that node doesn't exist, which means you would get an error. But I don't really want to tear down our SDK team because they build some really good stuff. That's my answer, I guess. Is that's why I've tended to roll my own. I don't always like to do that. As for the Dashbot, I'm like, as it stands right now, I'm not even using Dashbot. I got an error when I tried to implement it, but I do have the node modules there, and it's definitely big. But I do feel like the Dashbot stuff, if I go log in there, I do feel like it has a lot of value. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here. So let me show you. We have a few in here. Alexa, really, TKO Trivia is a good one because I have data in there. But I just feel like there's a lot of really interesting data. Now, this isn't a live skill yet. I'm in the process of going through certification right now. They're pulling the same data that you would get from the Alexa request object. So it's not as if they have any other magic that they're capable of doing. It's just the way that they funnel the data through and what they let me see and how it works. So if I come into activity, I can come into engagement and look at a lot of this stuff, and you can see sessions by user, and the stuff that I really care about is often the things that have been said, is it conversations? Interactions in. This lets me see what intents I'm hitting and how this stuff all plays out, how often they're being hit. I can come in and see the funnel for individual ones. So I just feel like this is a richer set of tools, but the analytics behind an actual skill are good. The stuff that's in the dev portal itself, they're good. There's nothing wrong with those. I just feel like they've really, this is a layer beyond that. Like they've really gone pretty far. And yes, I do agree. 139 meg is pretty heavy, but it is super awesome. Like there's a lot of cool stuff that I get because of it. So I'm not endorsing this or anything. I just it's expensive too. If you look at their pricing, to do you can have a free plan, but I think for the number of skills and things that I'm running, I think we're on maybe the innovation plan, and it's like $100 a month or something. I don't remember. Yeah, it's just contact us for pricing. But when we signed up for this, we're using this team wide, all as one account. So there's 8 or 10 skills in here, and I think the free account only allows you to have one skill per account, so you'd have to basically create another account for every one of your skills, which is fine. But it is pretty bulky, and you're making me wonder whether or not I actually want to keep that in there. So we can spend more time talking about that later. But what I want to do right now is talk to my skill, see my session actually, let's go to the dev portal. Instead of talking to a device, let's go here, and we'll open up Star Wars Databank. I made a logo for myself, SWDB. No, TNS, please, you're not hogging anything. I would love to answer questions. I have a lot of fun interacting and going back and forth. So don't feel bad about, I'm going to code. I'm going to get this stuff done. But if you have questions or want to start a discussion, I'm all about it. You're not hurting me at all. So I want to come to test, and we'll try it here instead. And we'll just say open Star Wars Databank.
IMA 3XA.
I'm just going to mute. I don't need the audio. And then we'll say quiz me about episode 6. And I want to just check in here that right now we just have the how maybe of assistance, and bring this up a little bit so we can see all the stuff that's happening in here. So that was just my launch request. So I'm going to say quiz me about episode 6. And she found an organization, but I must not have had data. So she picked an organization that is the Max Rebo band, and I must just not have the quiz description in there. I must not have anything written. Oh, did I screw that up? I did. Organization. Do you see how I named this field? That would screw things up later. Did I do that a lot? No. I'm glad I found that. Okay, so I had somehow named a field improperly, but if we come back to the dev console, that's what I was seeing, this equals record ID sitting here. That seemed like a weird name for a field. But I can see that in my session attributes now, I have quiz type and its organization. That's how I know what table it came from. And then I have quiz item. And in here I have its ID and its fields. Oftentimes I don't need all of that stuff, but it's fine to grab it and have this stuff. And then these are characters that are associated with the Max Rebo band if I really wanted to get crazy. This would make it very easy for me to then say, if the user said, who's in the Max Rebo band or something, which I don't have any functionality for right now, then I could use those IDs to go grab those records and say, oh, it's Size Noodles, and it's this, and it's that. Max Rebo, obviously. But my data is being saved. That was the thing we were going for, and so we can see that it's there and it's in the right place. So the next piece then is to come up here to where we had our comment, and we want to say, how do we want to do this? If session attributes, which I have not set up, so we need to go get that first. Let's go take that line of code that we used down here, this one, copy that, and we'll put that here at the top. I like to just slap it at the beginning, that way I just know it's there and I have it. And I want to say session attributes dot item, no, quiz item doesn't equal undefined. Then we have a quiz type and we have a quiz item. But I need to know if what they said, if what they resolved to matches what I said. So if we look at resolved words, yeah. If what they said, I need to see if this matches. So I'm going to be lazy at first, and then we'll fix it. If session attributes dot quiz item dot fields, no, I don't even need that. Let's go back and look at my log or my my test, because we had this thing right here, ID. That's the thing that I want. That's the easiest thing to compare on, because it's a unique identifier. So I'm going to say quiz item dot ID equals resolved words 0. We have a reference to this down here. Dot value dot ID. If that's the case, then what they said, screw that up, that means what they said matches the thing that I was expecting them to say. Now, the thing that you might be noticing is that I'm referencing position 0 here. That is most certainly going to cause me problems later, I think. And so I will have to tweak this a little bit. I'll have to do like a do these IDs match function, and then I'll have to iterate through the length of resolved words to make sure that if there's a 0 or a 1 or a 2, that I'm checking all of those. Because it's possible that if you say, like, I don't know, this person grew up on Tatooine, whatever, and the person answers Skywalker, maybe that's what they said. There's 4 entries in my database that will match Skywalker. Shmi, Luke, Anakin. I feel like there's one more, but maybe it's just 3. In any case, they could potentially come back in an order I'm not expecting. And if that's the case, then I would match the wrong one. But if they said Skywalker, they're definitely right. They probably mean Luke, but I'm going to give them credit if they say Skywalker. So I would need to check all 3 of those values. And right now I'm only checking the first one, which should be the most high confidence one. But in an example like Skywalker, that could be any of the 3 of them. Although I generally would think that most people would only use the word Skywalker to refer to Luke. It's clearly possible that they could mean Shmi or Anakin. Okay, so at this point we're just going with the first value, and I'll go back and fix that. In fact, let me leave myself a note. Check the entire set of values in resolved words. Okay. So if we're right, if the user's right, then we want to say woohoo. And if they're not, then we want to say darn. Those are pretty easy to do, but what I wanted to do, and I think, let's see if we can just find, let's see if we can find some R2D2 sound bank. So I want him to be R2D2 beeping happily. No. Here's the sad. This is what I was hoping to find. So we have all these emotions for R2D2. This is kind of fun, actually. So what's Eureka? Very excited? Yeah, that one feels pretty good. Alright, these are not high quality sound effects by any means, but yeah, I don't want just like the whole audio from the movie, but I think that we could do sad. No. What was the one that was... Let's borrow this very excited. Very excited R2D2. And then we'll also get the sad, like, what was it, concerned? Yeah. We'll download that one. Then the other thing that we need to do, because it doesn't give me any indications of bit rates and stuff like that, is I have Audacity on here. So we'll need to open a file. If you guys haven't played with this stuff, it's always fun to do. Apparently I had Chewbacca sounds already downloaded, but I think R2D2 is a fun sound for this because he's got a lot of emotion in his beeps and things. So we'll open very excited. And then I need to go look up Alexa audio bitrate because I can never remember these numbers. We're getting there. Audio. 48 kbps, and the sample rate must be one of those three. So sample, if I could see it, that would be helpful, huh? Let's go with 16,000. That one's there. And then when we export it needs to be 48 kbps. So we're going to go File, Export as MP3. We're going to choose 48 kbps. That's perfect. And we'll keep Very Excited R2D2 as the name. I think that's good. What is this folder? Chewbacca sound. Yeah, we'll just go back to downloads. And we'll overwrite the one we had. Okay. And make sure that still sounds... Yeah, that's great. And then I need to open the other one, which was Concerned. And this one we need to change 22050. That's perfect. That's already there. So we'll make sure we export this to 48. And we are. And we're saving it. And we're replacing. And then in here, S3, this is where I'm going to, I'm pretty sure I did not want you to do that. I want you to go here, and I want to go to Star Wars Databank. And I want to go to Sounds. And I have Chewbacca in there, but we're going to upload two more. Add files. Downloads. Concerned and Very Excited R2D2. Next. I don't know if I need to be thorough about this, but I always am very explicit about public access because these files need to be accessible by Alexa, which is public internet. The other thing I probably should do is rename. So we'll call this R2D2 concerned, because that'll sort nicer. Then all the R2D2 ones will be together. Rename. R2D2. Very excited. Okay. And then I need the paths for these. So we got to grab that. Copy. And now we go back to our code. And in here we're going to have some kind of speech that we need to put together. Do I already do that somewhere? I do have a speech variable. Where do I define that? Why don't I see it? I refer to it here. Go to definition. Can you do that? I don't understand how I'm referring to a variable that doesn't ever get initialized. Very interesting. Yes, the PC that is doing all the streaming for me, TNS, it is sitting at the other end of this table, and so is my microphone is also sitting on this table. So I think when the fan on the PC turns on, the microphone picks up some of that humming. Is it really obnoxiously loud? I'm trying to be better about my audio, and I'm thinking about taking the laptop, the PC, completely off of the machine. But yeah, the fan basically at the other end of this table is on. I definitely hear it, but there isn't any other fan noise. There shouldn't be anything else. Oh, if it just stopped, then I have no idea what it is, because the PC is still making the same amount of noise. That's weird. All right. Well, let me keep going on this. So. Oh, it's pretty loud? Man, I have no idea. I have no idea what could be making a fan noise, especially if it's stopping and starting. I'm in a pretty quiet room. I guess it could be interference with like my microphone. Oh. I definitely do see that there's some noise. Alright, well, keep me posted. Hopefully it's not too annoying, but I can see how that would be bothersome. I hate when there's loud noises playing when I'm listening to a stream, even if it's just white noise or a fan, like you said. Alright, I'm just going to keep rolling, though. We're an hour into this, and I still have a few more things to do. Alright, cool, thank you. So this is going to be my audio tag, audio source. This will be my R2D2 sound. That's the wrong one, I got the concerned one. Copy that, bring that down here. This will be very excited. Do I need anything else? I guess I need like R2's noise, but I probably also need to say something like, "You got that right. Nice work." Now, I will swap all this stuff out. If you guys have followed me building skills before, I will eventually take all of the speech out of this skill entirely, and so that you got it right, nice work. Actually, what is let's. What is that quote?
Great job, kid. That was 1 in a million. We'll use that, but I think that like there's a lot of quotes that I could use from the movie that express this kind of sentiment. And in fact, I have this built already. Maybe I'll just do this because I have all the code and everything written. I have a speech table, which we haven't spent a lot of time on yet, and I have welcomes and goodbyes. This is where the AL3XA comes from. She's saying this because it's in this table. But I could add another one that is let's clone this table. Actually, duplicate table. Don't duplicate records. We'll call this correct answer, and then locale will be NUS. Voice response will be great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million. Probably don't need that as an image column, but never know. So we'll add one more, which is great, kid. Don't get cocky. This is why I like Airtable so much, because I can do this kind of stuff, but I have all the functions and everything else working really nicely for me. See if we can find one more. Just have 3. This will be a funny disappointment one. What an incredible smell you've discovered. We'll add that in here. If we have a correct answer, we'll also need wrong answer. Duplicate table. And I'll show you how easy this is to do once I have, because I already have all the structure for this, so it's surprisingly easy. Wrong answer. And this will be, locale will be NUS. Alright, so that's good for now. And then in our code, what we can do is we'll always keep the R2 noise. Here, we'll get rid of that. And we will, down here, well, I can go to launch request, I guess I have it here. Get random speech from the welcome table. And I'm going to do the same thing here, but I'm going to say, we'll call this correct. And this is coming from the correct answer table. So you can see how I've already built this whole structure to be able to go, but oh, you know what, I have another thing I need to do. If I go to get random speech, oh, it's always looking in the speech table. Perfect. I've solved the problem for myself already. I was worried I might look in the wrong table, but this is all I need. So I need to say async. I already have that here. I'm going to wait this request. This is going to get random speech for my correct answer. And then in here, speech is going to be that plus correct dot fields dot voice response. I think is what I called it. I'll make sure. Voice response. So, and then the same thing will work for this. So we'll take this line and we'll say wrong answer. We'll call this one wrong just so it's labeled appropriately. And then out here at the end, we'll do correct dot fields dot voice response. Exact same thing. All right, so that should get us some R2 noises followed by a voice response. And then just because I'm going to be concatenating strings, I like to add the space here rather than everywhere else. So we're just adding a space after our voice response just so that the words don't run together. I think for now I'm going to do the lazy thing, which is I'm going to give them the answer to the thing. can't I do that in my brain? Stop it. Okay. So I now have speech being created. This piece should only happen if they had a quiz item. And it doesn't even look like I needed the quiz type. I mean, I'll keep it because it doesn't hurt much, but maybe I don't need that at all. So let's save that and try it. And now we'll ask for something randomly like Boba Fett. And then we'll get quizzed and we'll see if we get the response that we're looking for, which would be some kind of correct or incorrect response using R2-D2's noises. So let's see. Come on, Lambda, let's do this. That probably is why this is taking so long, though, is that Dashbot, which of course I don't have any, I'm not even using right now. I really should take that out because I'm just eating into my deployment time. Canyon, thank you for the note on the fan noise. It's good to know that maybe it's not on my end. Not that I want you to have a bunch of background noise, TNS limited, but it's better on your side than my side because everybody that's watching this would be hearing it otherwise. Okay, Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations. How may I be of assistance?
Tell me about Boba Fett.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now.
Alexa,
We're fine.
quiz me about characters.
I picked a character. A private investigator based in Canto Bight's old city. Neeper's Panpick knows more than anyone about what the resort city's power brokers are up to, and what they want to keep secret.
Alexa,
While not a member...
Neeper's Panpick.
We had a slight
Alexa,
weapons
wait.
malfunction.
So I didn't actually address this issue earlier, but I'm going to have to do it now. I think it's the fact that that speech variable was never initialized. Thank you for stopping by, Canyon Ski. Enjoy your workday, but I'm glad you guys are digging this a little bit. CloudWatch. I guess it can let you actually see what I'm doing here. Going to my logs, I want to see what the error is. I think it's just that variable is not initialized, but we'll see here. Speech is not defined. Look at that. I don't know why I thought like, well, it's not there. I don't know how. I mean, I don't actually know how this was ever working then because I didn't delete it. At least I don't think I did. So we just need a var speech equals nothing right there. That should fix it. I don't know where it went. I'm actually, while that's waiting to upload, I'm going to go to GitHub and see what the old version looked like. Because I don't know how this ever worked if I never initialized that variable. It's been there for a while. My guess is as I was adding stuff, maybe I accidentally deleted a line. The page is taking too long to load. Is GitHub down? That would be bad. There we go. Repositories. I need to star the this Star Wars one. I don't know where all my bandwidth went. Seems to be running real slow right now. Star Wars Databank. Let's start that bad boy. And I just want to look at the index on this because I can't really understand where that speech variable would have gone. So I have speech right here. I literally never define it. But this has been working. It was working earlier before I started making changes. That is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Alright, well, I think our change should have fixed it, but very weird. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA.
Alexa, tell me about Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett. With his customized Mandalorian armor.
Quiz me about characters.
I picked a character. Once a smooth-talking smuggler, Lando Calrissian changed from a get-rich-quick schemer
Alexa.
to a selfless leader.
Lando Calrissian.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now, thank you. We had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now, thank you.
Cannot read property on line 55.
We had
Alexa,
a slight
quit.
weapons mal.
What are we talking about here? So if I look at my request envelope, you heard me say Lando Calrissian. I matched one here. Zero dot value dot ID. It looks right to me. And what about my session data? That should be in here too, right? So this quiz item ID, which ends in TQE, should match the ID that's down here, which it does. TQE. So the value's matched, but it's saying that it doesn't exist. So I must have a bad reference to the ID on something. Let's take another quick look at this. Session attributes.quizitem.id and resolve words 0.value.id. I'm pretty sure that I return values in the getResolvedWords function, but let's take a look. Get resolved words, go to definition. I think I'm returning values. Dot values. Yeah, so the whole array comes back, and then I'm picking the first one out of that. And the error was what? Cannot read property ID of undefined. Did I do some capitalization wrong? Is that it? In here, I do quiz item, session attributes.quiz item, but when I save it, do I save it as? No, see, lowercase. This is where pair programming would help, guys. You guys are letting me down left and right. This is just me making a mistake right here. So it was just the quiz item was not capitalized. So we'll fix that, and then it'll work. Nothing like bugs you write yourself, huh? I guess all bugs you write yourself, but that's one that was easily avoidable. I have a very, I don't know if it's just dry skin or whatever. I never put lotion on my hands or anything, but I have a very dry knuckle. This pointer finger knuckle right here. It's dry and very itchy. I don't know what I did. I scraped it or what. It's bugged me. All right, we'll give this one more try with a question. The Boba Fett stuff seemed to be working pretty well. So I think I'll just run right to the quiz and see what happens. You guys have convinced me. I'm going to have to rip out Dashbot. So we'll do that here in a second also. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA.
Alexa,
Human cyborg.
quiz me on episode 5.
I picked a vehicle. While not as imposing as its larger AT Walker cousin, the AT-ST nonetheless served as a significant addition to the Imperial
Alexa,
side of battlefields in the
ATST.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now.
Alexa, quit.
We're fine.
What is my error now? Cannot read property voice response of undefined. On line 58. This is me getting data out of my table, I would think. Correct answer, wrong answer. That's what I called them, right? Correct answer, wrong answer. Voice response, voice response. I don't know why that's not working. Let's take a deep look at our error. Because it's fields.voice response. I think I was doing fields. Correct dot field. Oh, again, this should be wrong. But I thought I got that answer right, so I feel like we're in the wrong place there, but that's neither here nor there. We also need to uninstall Dashbot. I have to remember how to do npm uninstall. I know I could just npm install. There we go. So npm uninstall Dashbot. So we'll kick all that out. Oh, whoa. There. Oh. Lambda custom. Helps if you're in the right directory. See if that works. Removed 179 packages and audited 124. Great. Oh, that's super awesome, TNS. And yeah, like I've moved from a bunch of different text editors, but VS Code, man, it really is good. And they continue to support plugins and add-ons, and I really like it. Now, I came from Microsoft. I used to be there a long time ago, and I've always been a fan of Visual Studio. It solved a lot of problems for me. So little things, just little things like the right-click go to definition are big for me, or hitting F12, which I never do on my Mac keyboard. Those make just such a big difference in being able to navigate and find stuff. And I haven't even really dug deep. There was a bunch of shortcuts I used to use in Visual Studio that I just don't use anymore because I was off of it for 3 years or so since I've been on a Mac pretty much. And then when VS Code came out, I was like, oh, I'll give that a try, and it's fantastic. I'm very, very happy with it. But being able to look at my logs in a console would be that'd be pretty sweet. I do like having it open in a browser. It's nice to be able to navigate and play with, but I think having it here would obviously be very ideal. Okay, so we got rid of that. We were going to do a... I gotta move back up. Ask, deploy, Lambda. Push our Lambda code, see if it's any faster. Should be, right? Maybe a little bit faster? Okay. So let's give this one more try. I want to hear R2D2. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA.
Quiz me on characters.
I picked a character. A by the manual's Republic officer. Admiral Killian runs a tight ship.
Alexa,
Nonetheless,
Admiral Killian.
we had a slight weapons malfunction,
Alexa,
but
quit. Let's go look. This is what logs are for. I like them still having errors, but I feel like what I wrote was pretty simple and straightforward. I'm sure it's just some bad references. Cannot read property voice response. So I'm getting my speech. Right? Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million. But somehow it thinks it is not populated. What am I doing wrong? So at least it thought it was a correct answer. That's a good sign. But it really doesn't like correct out fields the voice response. Here's my guess. This always seems to be an issue for me. I never trust async. So I feel like it's trying to do that. It's not actually awaiting. It certainly should, though. All of that, and we're using that for tons of stuff. That goes fine. What could be the issue here? Except that it's trying to get to that. Here, let's just drop this in here to see if I'm correct about my suspicion. Console.log. Correct. Answer. Equals correct. No, let's do JSON.stringify. Correct. So this should be written. And I should see all the properties and everything. If that is happening without the properties, then I know that it's not working. So let's deploy some code and see what we get. I don't like it when things don't work. This is supposed to be simple. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to quiz me on a character.
I picked a character. Discovered as a slave on Tatooine by Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker had the potential to become
Alexa,
one of the most powerful...
Anakin Skywalker.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's
Alexa,
perfectly all right now.
Quit.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but
Alexa,
everything...
quit. Oh, it's much easier than I thought. Okay, this is just me being too smart for myself. I had already ripped the field stuff off, so it's just correct. I'm already returning only the speech. It's just wrong. I don't need to. I don't need those references. That was my issue. Okay, so now, yeah, I don't need this. That was awesome. I love when this is great. I like when I'm smarter than myself. My past self was smarter than my current self. Okay. TS, I agree. It's a good headstone. I think I may have to consider that as well. Does anyone I know, do they already have their plot purchased? I mean, I'm 43. I'm not buying a cemetery plot anytime soon, but I'm always curious if that's something that's important to people. They buy it when they're young, when it's cheaper, because obviously the price of those things goes up as you get older, just because of time. They're not price gouging you because you're old. All right, Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank.
I am
Alexa,
AL3XA.
quiz me on characters.
I picked a character. Barada was a Klatooinian slave who served as muscle and a mechanic for Jabba the Hutt on Tatooine.
Alexa,
As the man in charge...
Barada.
Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million. You asked me about Barada. Barada was a Clatunian slave who served as muscle and a mechanic for Jabba the Hutt on Tatooine. As the man in charge of maintenance for all of Jabba's repulsor-operated vehicles, he was sent to the Great Pit of Carkoon when Jabba tried executing Luke Skywalker and the rest of the rebels working to free Han Solo from his debt. He was present on one of the skiffs escorting Jabba and his retinue to watch the execution, but when Skywalker set his plan into motion, Barada was cut down by the Jedi's green-bladed lightsaber. How may I be of assistance?
Quiz me on characters.
I picked a
I'm
character,
gonna get this one wrong.
a legendary Wookiee warrior and Han Solo's co-pilot aboard the Millennium Falcon. Chewbacca was part of a core group
Alexa.
of rebels who restored...
Han Solo.
What an incredible smell you've discovered. You asked me about Han Solo. Smuggler. Scoundrel. Hero. Han Solo, captain of the Millennium Falcon, was one of the great leaders of the Rebel Alliance. He and his co-pilot Chewbacca came to believe in the cause of galactic freedom, joining Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia Organa
Alexa.
in the fight against the...
Quiz me about vehicles.
I picked a vehicle. A specialized cargo vehicle. The hauler deploys walkers on the battlefield. It can carry enormous loads thanks to powerful engines and heavy-duty cargo lift
Alexa.
arms augmented with...
AT Hauler.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but
Alexa, quick.
everything's perfect.
So it seems like it's working. There's an issue with this data for sure, but that's pretty exciting. We've got recognition of correct answers. It wasn't too hard to do. Where's my error? Cannot read property 0 of undefined. And that's probably because I didn't match anything. Yeah, see, there was no entity resolution. I said AT holler, and I said hauler, and it said holler. So let's go look at my data and see if that's, like, these are learning opportunities for my data. So if I come in here and look at vehicles, I think there is one called the AT hauler. AT hauler. So it just misunderstood me. So we can do AT hauler. Again, easy to add a synonym. And then that one, like, that'll be fixed easily. Lord Sound, thank you for joining. I do have one with a clock. It's hiding behind there. That's what it looks like. Works pretty cool. I'll go to camera view, and so you can see that like, I've got a whole pile of devices here behind me, including the Echo Flex that I talked about the last couple of days. And this is looking the wrong way. That's the Echo Look, if you haven't seen one of those. They're all muted right now. Things I don't have in here are the Echo Studio. I have that in a much bigger space because that would be loud in here. Behind the box, I have the new, this is like the new Echo. How bad is my hair in the back? I just realized I'm just like turning around and looking like a mess. These are also pretty cool too. I don't know if you guys have seen these. I did an event with a conference called Code Nash, and I worked with Nickelodeon, and we had these cool cases made. This front piece pops off, so like pops off like that, and an Echo Dot. I unplug my clock. Echo Dot just happens to fit exactly inside, and then when you put the lid back on the Nickelodeon, this is pretty awesome. You can see that the buttons fit right. Let's see if I can get a good reflection. I have a bright light on, so I can see it. But there are buttons. Yeah, you can see how the buttons fit right inside the lid. Really smart. And they had Nickelodeon had these 3D printed. So I was doing an event at a conference called Code Nash, and we had like 120 of these that we gave away to. It was a technology conference, but it has a kids track. There's like, I don't know, 500 or something kids that come to this part of the track, and so like the 100 or so that I got to come to the room, they each got one of these cases, and then at the very end, I said, yeah, you can take the dot that you have at home and you put it in the case. And I saw a lot of sad faces because there were kids that didn't maybe have a dot, or they were just curious about Alexa or whatever. And at the very end, I had this big pyramid of Echo Dots under a curtain, and I pulled the curtain away, and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna need something for your case. Everybody, come on up and grab one." And so everybody got Echo Dot. Also, it's pretty awesome day. A lot of screaming and excitement and whatever. The other question was, what is the pushpin board for? This map here, it's obviously a world map. This is generally all the places I've ever been. And so like this green one that's right down here, this is Sao Paulo, Brazil. I was just there recently. You can see that I've got a couple on the Australian coast down there. I also have like lots of America covered. Got some places in Europe. There's probably 10 spots in Europe. And then I have Tokyo way out here when I went to Tokyo. I'm excited because I get to fill in Bangalore, India, which is right here. I'm going there in February, so I'm very excited to add a new pushpin to the map. And it's not super thorough. I've been to way more cities in the United States and Canada than are necessarily indicated here. But I'm only putting pushpins on cities that are actually on this map. So you've got maybe the capital city of every U.S. state, but not much more than that. And I have a lot of like South America I'd really like to do, but with time it'll come. But it's kind of a cool thing to get done. Startup, the 3D printing was actually done by Nickelodeon, so I don't remember the name of the company, and the name isn't printed on the devices or anything. But it was an industrial 3D printing company, because they made me, I don't know, 150 or 200 of these in a couple of days. So they must have had dozens and dozens of devices, and they're a high quality print too. They're not very low resolution. So I don't have a good answer for you on where those 3D printed cases got made, but they are super awesome, and I'm glad that I still have a couple of them left because they were pretty neat. I love doing that kind of stuff though, where you can kind of come up with some cool custom way to roll things out. I'm actually doing a workshop at CodeMash again, which is in January on the northern coast of Ohio, in a town called Sandusky. And there's about 2,500 or so developers that go to that. But the first couple of days of that event, they hold workshops. So it's half day and full day workshops, and it's an additional ticket that you have to buy to come to the first couple of days. And so I partnered up with a company called Particle, who makes IoT boards. And I have a good friend who works there, and so we decided we'd partner up. And so we're doing a 4-hour workshop where the first 2 hours you will be given the hardware to build this IoT board and set it up. And you'll plug in an LED and a temperature sensor and a couple of other cool sensors and devices. And then you'll get that all set up and running, and you'll be able to go to their portal and turn things on and off and whatever. And then we're going to build, in the second half, we're going to build an Alexa skill that controls your device, so you'll be able to call their APIs and like use your voice to say like turn the light blue or what's the temperature in the room and stuff like that. So it should be a cool kind of fun experimental day. But I'm secretly, I don't think anyone's listening. Everybody that attends that workshop will get one of these new Echo Flex devices, so they'll get to play with that and use that to talk to their skill or whatever if they don't already have one. But the nice thing about building for Alexa is that you don't really need a device. The dev portal, the dev console, all of this stuff, right, is pretty handy. It does a good job, and I can come down and look at things like the display and see all the other pieces. So it should be really cool. And I do love IoT. This is one of the more advanced smart home houses probably in Ohio. Or even the Midwest. I've done quite a bit with this house to try to automate as much as I can. So we do the easy things like light switches, but I've replaced the garage. Not the garage, but I have an automated garage door, front door locks, cameras, all sorts of cool stuff. And that's part of what this channel is supposed to be. So I know I'm building Alexa stuff right now, but I do plan on talking about like the kinds of devices I use and things like that. The Lord of Sound, you asked what IoT hub do I use. I have exclusively worked with devices that only do Wi-Fi. So I've stayed away from the Zigbee and the Z-Wave protocols primarily. Not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just that I've really enjoyed the the Wi-Fi based setup and technology, and I didn't want to have to worry about hubs and distribution and stuff like that. My house isn't big, but it's not small, and I was concerned about some of that. So I've gone primarily with Wemo devices, at least for light switches. I tend to have Ring cameras and things like that. Lord of Sun, have I used the third reality motion sensor? No, I haven't. I don't actually know what that is. I'm going to look it up here. Third reality motion sensor. You said something about a canary? I don't know what you mean by the canary. That's a canary behind me. If there are birds behind me, I'm not aware of them. Yeah, so no, I only have the Echo Flex. I don't have any of the attachments for it. I probably should get them because they're pretty affordable. If you guys haven't seen this, let me show you that. If you haven't noticed, I feel like I'm done coding. Oh, I see. Yeah, no, there's no cameras behind me at all. I have two Logitech cameras that I have mounted up here for the streaming stuff. I have an Amazon Cloud Cam in this office, and at some point I'm going to rig up another camera like across the room over there, so you can kind of see what the setup looks like here. Because I've kind of got this framed like a studio, right? Like we've got these things on the wall, got the clock behind me, and the Funko stuff, and the lab here behind me. But there's a lot more to this office. This is probably 500 square feet in my house, and so I've got all sorts of nonsense, giant bookshelves, and way more pops than you're seeing here on camera. But it's kind of cool to see the whole rig. But I'm not setting the camera up until I've gotten my office organized and cleaned enough that I'm willing to show the whole thing on camera. So we'll get there eventually, but it's just not there yet. The vertical unit. Are you talking about this? That one there. That's the Echo Look, which is it was a kind of a niche device. Like you can take a picture of it and it'll actually tell you. Like you could take pictures of two different outfits and it will tell you which one looks better on you. So it was meant a lot for like fashion, but I have not used it a ton. But it's an interesting device because it has a really good camera on it, and those four dots around it are a flash. I can go to this view. That's probably a little better. Those four dots around the red ring are a flash, so it can take good pictures. And then the light below it is telling me it's muted, but I can unmute it. The audio on it's not very good. Let me mute this one. I'll let you hear the audio. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations. How may I be of assistance?
Tell me about Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett. With his customized Mandalorian armor, deadly weaponry, and silent demeanor,
Alexa.
Boba Fett was one of the...
Quit. Alexa, take my picture. So I can show you what that did. There's actually a separate app. If I go to look, so I'll try to show this. That's on my app. That's the picture it just took of me, and so it focused in just primarily on the laptop because I wasn't trying to get in frame or anything, but that's what it was looking at, and so it took that picture for me. And you can see like it logs like, hey, that was your latest look for November 20th. It keeps track of all the clothes you wore, but you can see it's primarily I go open that again. You can see up here at the top it says your style. Maybe you can see that. Excuse me. So it basically is a way to keep track of what you've worn and what's cool. How come Echo Spa is not responding? This one here, it's because it's muted. I have you can see it, but there's a red light on top. I currently have that one muted. I have all of the devices muted actually, except for the one that's in front of me most of the time. Is there any talk at Amazon about allowing unsolicited push audio? I'm dying to make a game where sounds pop off around your house on a house game for people that have a lot of Alexa devices. I am certainly one of those people, and I think that'd be pretty fun to try to like get to a device, and you'd have to be able to talk to that one directly in order to yeah, in order to like move on to the next level or whatever. That'd be pretty fun. I also would love. I'm a huge sports fan, so I have things for the Cleveland Indians and for the Columbus Blue Jackets and stuff like that. I think it would be pretty cool, especially for hockey, because they use like a loud air horn. I wouldn't want it to be loud, but it would be cool if the top of the thing lit up and played the air horn noise and just said Columbus Blue Jackets just scored a goal, or the Cleveland Indians just scored 3 runs or something like that. I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I agree, it would have to be done with an opt-in from your customer, because that would be really annoying if you didn't want that. But I feel like it would be a cool feature for those that do. So the answer to your question, Lord of Sound, is I have no idea. I know that it seems like it wouldn't be terribly hard to do with the notifications and some other things that we have out there, but the fact that it doesn't exist means they're really, for understandable reasons, we're very concerned about the idea of annoying our customers. If they turn their devices off or they don't like using them anymore, that's a bad problem, right? We want people to love their devices and not be annoyed by them. So that's that. All right. I think I'm mostly done coding for today. I think we've gotten it to a pretty good point where if we come back into what we were doing, we have this little chunk that we wrote here, which is the hey, you got the quiz question right, and it looks like that's working well. I still have some work to do to like do this part, because I'm doing this in an intent, and I really don't like to have like multiple places where we exit where we do this. I like it to all be the same, so I always end up leaving from the same place. So this might just be a thing where I end up exiting separately, but I'm trying to find a way to do this, and I think by just tweaking this part here, not that. You asked me about Han Solo. Like, they didn't actually ask about Han Solo, right? They said Han Solo, and so it might be that I pull this piece out and do it separately somewhere else. But I'll have to think about those speech patterns. So we'll keep working on that. But at least it works for now. It gives me that I've got a correct answer. You guys wrote a long thing here. Let me see. Really appreciate these sessions, learning loads, and happy to see that even top devs make mistakes with properties. Thank you. I'll have no shortage of mistakes on these streams. I promise. I know what I'm doing, but I'm not a master of anything. Last thing, that strange hum came back. It lasted about 20 seconds. Grabbed it from the speakers. We'll try dragging and dropping small MP3 so you can hear what I hear. Definitely nothing else running on my side. You also hear that the mic is picking up every bump on the table. If you isolate it with a small rubber mat or something, it will pick up the bumps. Thanks again. Yeah, I actually am going to do like a hanging cage. I would think I would rather have the microphone sitting up here anyway, because I like to talk to the camera when I'm talking, but my microphone is down here, and it's just sitting on the table. It just happens to be the equipment I have right now. So the studio will continue to evolve, and I will eventually have a microphone. I can show you. It's a disaster, but no, actually it's on a tripod. I'm not going to move it. But where I normally sit, my desk where I do most of my work has 3 monitors, and I have a hanging boom mic that hangs right in front of my face, and it works really, really well. So it might just be that maybe I swap these microphones out, I move the boom over here, and I take this one and I move it over to my desk or something. I don't know. But I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Here's a couple bumps for you. Lord of Sound, I'm glad you guys feel that these are invaluable. I would love to find a way to gather a bigger audience, because the more questions, the more insights that we can all gather together. So if you guys don't mind spreading the word that I'm doing some cool stuff over here, I think it's cool. And I would be doing this whether or not you're watching, but it's much cooler when you are, because I get to have conversations and understand what you're thinking and talk to you guys about like what do you think is the right way to do this, and we can kind of work on things together. So I think I'm probably going to wrap up here. I know it's about 20 minutes early, but we've been here for over an hour and a half, and we made some good progress. And I've got 1,000 things to get done before reInvent, and it's coming so soon. We're like 10 days away from me heading there. So I leave the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So lots to do. All right, I'll check that out. I do have the Blue Yeti, so that's good to know, Lord of Sound. What is that character next to the Echo buttons? I have 2. This one here that's probably harder to see. This is the 7th Sister. She's from the Clone Wars. I think she might actually make an appearance in the next movie. And this one is 21B. He's the medical droid that takes care of Luke when he gets all battered up by that Wampa in Episode 5. I'm assuming that's what the characters you're referring to are. I don't know. I don't know what else we could be seeing. I think that's all that's in frame. I also have a really crazy looking Doc Brown from. His eyes are supposed to be like that, but it's kind of weird. So I have a crazy looking Doc Brown. I have. If you guys really want to get into it, we've got Lego Ghostbusters mobile. There's no shortage of nonsense in this office. I went to a Star Wars fireworks show at Disney World, and it was like this really fancy dessert kind of thing, and Chewbacca mug, right? Super cool. Yeah, like there's all sort of crazy things here. I like fun stuff. So the box on the shelf. What is the Dino Funko? The box on the shelf. This one? I think it's probably the one, right? This is Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. And they have, I don't know if you guys know a lot about these figures, but they have what they call Chase editions. So you can see this sticker that's down there on the bottom corner, limited Chase edition. So generally one out of every 6 of the ones that have a Chase edition are this. It's a different model, right? It's a whole different figure, but they release 2, and one of them out of each case, which holds 6 figures, one of them will be the Chase, and 5 of them will be the common one. And so generally, if you look and you're like a reseller or collector, I don't sell a lot, but I do collect. The Chases go for about $25 to $30 on eBay if people are looking to buy one, and the common ones go anywhere between like $6 and $12. So if you get one of those, because you can't choose to get one when you order them, from whatever vendor you get, you just get one. And you don't get to say, I want the Chase one or anything like that. They're just going to send you, in that case, an Audrey 2, and if you just happen to get the one with Chase on it, then you win, I guess. Some people, I'm in some news groups and Reddit things and stuff, and there are people that are sometimes disappointed. Like, they got the Chase, which is very cool, I got the rare one, but they really wanted the way the other one looked. I don't know if I have a good example of another Chase where, like, I don't have a lot of Chases, actually. Let's see if I have any others here that would work. Again, like, Chases are pretty hard to come by. No. I was gonna say, like, I could show you, like, both models. Actually, I do have both models. Let me see if I can read them. So if you guys are familiar with Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy, this is the common one, right? He's wearing the t-shirt and he's got the guns and whatever, but that's Star-Lord. And then this was the Chase, where he has the helmet. And so if you didn't want the helmet, or you don't like this look or whatever, I could see how you'd be disappointed. But otherwise they're pretty much the same. It's just he has the helmet on one. So sometimes it's a completely different pose and all sorts of stuff, but that's a whole nother thing. So we're getting deep into my collector world. Any very good cartoon 3D printing startups? I don't know any startup. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about 3D printing primarily. Like, I keep wanting to buy one, but the quality that I see from a lot of the home devices just don't seem high enough for me to really invest in one, because they're expensive, a couple $1,000s. So I really don't have any good knowledge for you about 3D printing at all. So yeah, Quill killed half of the entire population of the galaxy by hitting Thanos in the head at the wrong time. Yeah. Spoiler alert. That's kind of how it went down. His emotions got the best of him. All right, guys. Hey, I'm gonna wrap up. I've got a bunch of noise outside in the hallway, it sounds like, and I got to get some lunch, and I have so much to do before 2:30 today. I can't even explain it. But anyway, I love having this conversation. I love having you guys here. So please keep coming back. Tell your friends, whatever you can, because I really enjoy the conversation, and the more you have, the more fun it is. So thank you guys all for coming. I'll see you again soon. Adios.